Hey, my name's Steve Moore. I'm a character artist by trade, and this is an example of the kind of thing I do. This is Clementine's mug from season 4 of The Walking Dead. Did this for Telltale Games. Yeah, and this is what she looks like in ZBrush. So, um, I'm just an overall artist. I design, I sculpt, I paint. I just love doing everything, and I particularly love sculpting. This is kind of fun. Like, so we started getting into wrinkle maps on season 4 there. So I've kind of been messing with, like, here's Clementine kind of pissed off, kind of not quite so bad. I love that. Yeah. So this is just to kind of give you a heads up, because I know so far we've just kind of been looking at a concept and painting and stuff like that. So I want to kind of let you guys know where this is going. We are going to get into some sculpting eventually, and yeah, let's dig into it. All right. So what we're doing here is from blank page, designing a character. In this case, Shun. I'm basing it off a character from my comic book I've been working on. Um, but nonetheless, what we're going to do is upgrade this character, and I'll take you through that, and then ultimately on to modeling. So to recap, last intro, we started with reference from the internet. So I found this pose here, which I kind of liked, um, and came up with this. Came up basically intending to make a sculpture out of this, a static sculpture. So I wanted to have an interesting pose. So we came up with a little story that she's, just taking a selfie, being kind of goofy, um, and really from there, kind of found a cool pose that might work for that. And then, also finding kind of further reference for, like what her hand's doing. So I'm compositing basically this pose with this, and then coming up with a facial expression as well, for her. So, so basically from the reference, we came up with a thumbnail, looked a bit like this, and for the development, kind of combining in the arm there, and then dropping some tone on it to kind of so we can see the silhouette better. I did cover this last week a little bit, but anywho, so excuse the repeat. And then final pose, which is where we left off last week. This final pose here, and we're ready to drop some tone, some costumes on her and start digging into some design. Um, Anywho, in regards to that, so today what we're going to talk about is thumbnails, palettes, and we're going to dig a little bit into design. We begin with thumbnails. This is an example of thumbnails I did a while back. I was working as a concept artist for Sony at the time, and these are just super sketches. They're super quick sketches. If you actually look, a bit closer, they're not, these are just roughed in real quick, and the idea is just to brainstorm. It's to try a bunch of different ideas. And the thing with the thumbnails is you don't want to, don't hold back. Even if you have a silly idea, you just throw it down on paper and you just keep throwing ideas out, and you see what sticks, And uh, one of the things it helps a lot with a thumbnail is actually to draw them pretty small. Like these are pen on paper. Each figure is a few inches high. Pretty small. There's some pretty crazy, wacky ideas in here. I don't some Here I was like, oh, what if you had a guy with a portable welding torch, or he's kind of a he's kind of a he's a bad guy, he's an enemy that you kind of have to get past, and so you just throw out all kinds of crazy ideas. Sometimes here I was playing with an idea for kind of just a logo on the back of the guy's jacket. A lot of times I'm just having fun. Oh, this was a this here I thought, oh, maybe the dude sprays paint in your face. In retrospect, that's a bit silly. An example maybe not such a great idea, but the trick is don't don't be embarrassed. Just throw it out there. Eventually, something you'll come up with something that's kind of cool. So this is an example of a typical thumbnail page. This is the thumbnail I did for the concept we're working on, and in this situation, because I already know what the character looks like, it's mostly about, it's about figuring out how I was going to present it, what the lighting might look like, and also just kind of playing with the elements I have yet to design, namely the legs. And I know I'm going to do something a little different with her belt than I previously had there. And I was just playing. You can see it's super rough. It's a pretty ugly picture. It's basically I'm just testing ideas out and not worry. It's as long as if it looks, and to be honest, this is not really working from a distance, but the trick with a thumbnail is if it looks good from a distance, it's probably gonna work, So before we this thumbnail is going to serve as simultaneously its kind of design and its color and illustration, the whole thing. We want to work that out. And here's the thing: color is not my strongest point, but ironically, that's good for you guys. And why I say that is because I've had to develop some tricks. I have a few cheats when it comes to color. I love color, and I think I am getting much better with it. But early in my career, I was focused on form and value, sculpt and form and line, and I glazed over color. So now I'm really digging into color. But here's what. So first thing we want to do is develop a palette for our illustration, and that's going to look a little bit like this. I've dropped for this. I've dropped a medium value on the whole thing, which I think is always a great place to start, because now, we're not competing with this glaringly white background. We have much more control over where the eye goes, because just as an example, stating the obvious, but your eye is going to go to the most highest contrast on your page. So if I go in here and paint, let's say, like black, and then I switch and I point white, I mean, you can't help but look at that. Forget her, your eyes go in there, right? So starting out with a nice neutral background, and then we can go up and down from there as far as values go. To get the palette, this is what I do. I find a picture that is close to what I want. So let's pretend, for example, we're looking at skin colors. And this is a picture of Devin Akai I found on the internet. I think I like the skin color. Maybe the lighting. Let's pretend the lighting situation is something akin to what I'm going for. This is what I do. I'll go up to the filters here, and I'm going to blur the image significantly. Maybe that's a little bit too much. But let's say about 40% here. We'll drop it down to 30. Okay, there you go. Now now we've gotten out all the noise, and we start to just see colors and values, and you can you can see, like, oh, look at the reds in there, getting much more warmer in the cheek. And so now I'm going to make another layer, and I'll make myself a little box like this, and I'm going to say, let's say this might represent my shadow value. Duplicate layer one more time is my quirky way of doing things. And let's say, like, I like this color here, this lighter value, is more of a transitional from that shadow. And I'll drop that over there, and I'll sample a color for the highlight. Like let's say, like, this is more where my highlight is, nice pink color there, and that might represent my highlight. Maybe go for a lighter value here. And there you go. So from there, we now have a palette for our skin. And that is basically how I built this palette here. I was, looking at previous illustrations I'd done, and just a heads up, this is just a sneak preview of today. So here we've roughed in all the colors and stuff. I'm actually going to go back and walk you through how we got to here, but I've roughed in the colors based on this palette here. But we're gonna begin today from this point. We've got our pose, we've got neutral background, and we've got ourselves a palette. Whoops, so it turns out you have a limit of about 12 to 15 minutes on videos for YouTube if your account's not verified. And since I'm not going to verify my account right now, I'm just going to split this into two parts and I'll upload them both together. So you should be able to follow right along immediately after this segment. Cheers.